Welcome to Don't Fear the Tariffs. I'm your host, and tonight we're diving into tariffs from the perspective of a classical free market economist. With new trade policies shaking things up in 2005, we'll explore what tariffs are, what's happening across the Atlantic, and how Ireland can respond with optimism and grit. Markets thrive on freedom, so let's approach this with a clear mind and empowering outlook. What are tariffs? So let's start with the basics. A tariff is a tax imposed by governments on imported goods, like a levy on Irish whiskey or pharmaceuticals crossing borders. Since a €100 bottled whiskey hit with a 20% tariff costs €120 to import, raising prices for buyers or squeezing exporters' profits. From a classical economist perspective, tariffs are a government intrusion into the market's natural order. They disrupt voluntary trade, favoring a few protected industries while burdening consumers and exporters like Ireland's dairy and pharma sectors. Individual choices are stifled by such interventions, reducing wealth, efficiency, and consumers' purchasing power. Tariffs imposed in one country means its citizens will be paying for someone else's political choices. So, what's the scoop on America's tariff plan under President Trump? Over in the United States, President Trump has rolled out a bold set of tariffs aimed at tackling trade imbalances, boosting American manufacturing. It's called a reciprocal approach, where tariffs are set to match or counter what other countries charge on US goods. So basically, EU has high tariffs on US raising its tariffs to match EU level tariffs. Starting back in 2025, he declared a national emergency under a law called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act to kick things off. The big move was a universal 10% tariff on imports just about on every country, kicking in April 5th, 2025. But it doesn't stop there. Rates go higher based on trade deficits, hitting up to 50% on some nations and even steeper for others like China, where the tariffs climbed up to 60% or more in some spots. The goal? To shrink America's massive trade deficit and bring jobs home to the USA. Some economists claim this would rake in over 5 trillion in revenue over a decade, but it might shrink the US economy by 6% in the long run and hit wages too. It's a gamble on protectionism, but from a free market view, it's like building walls around opportunity. It might feel safe, but stifles growth for what comes from an open exchange. So, how did the EU respond? The European Union did not react well. They pushed back with a mix of negotiations and countermeasures to defend their interests. When Trump threatened 30 or even 50% tariffs on some EU goods, like steel, the EU vowed swift retaliations, threatening lists of American products worth up to €72 billion or $84 billion to hit with their own tariffs if talks failed. Leaders from France and Germany led the charge, calling for a coordinated response to protect European jobs and exports. And where did this get us? Well, the EU chief emphasized defending European interests with countermeasures like targeting US poultry, whiskey, and other icons if needed. It's a classic trade tussle. Retaliation breeds more barriers, and everyone pays higher prices due to political squabblings. How can Ireland cut taxes and regulations to counter these tariffs? Well, here's where it gets exciting for us in Ireland. Instead of joining in the tariff tango, which only raises costs and sparks economic wars, we can outsmart it by making our Emerald Isle even more attractive for business and trade. As a small, open economy that's thrived on exports, think tech giants, pharma, and world class food, we don't need protectionist walls. We need freedom to compete. By slashing taxes and trimming regulations, we can lower costs for everyone, draw in investment, and keep our goods zipping across borders affordably. First off, let's talk taxes. Ireland's already got a leg up with our low corporate rate. Why not go further? Cut personal income taxes and VAT to put more money in folks' pockets, and that boosts spending and innovation right here at home. Ditch unnecessary excise duties on imports that we rely on, so businesses aren't hit twice by US tariffs and our own levies. This isn't about handouts, it's about letting hardworking Irish people keep more of what they earn, sparking entrepreneurship like the good old Celtic Tiger days. On regulations, lighten the load, streamline planning permissions for factories and farms, and simplify labour laws to make hiring easier. Over-regulation acts like a hidden tariff, driving driving up costs and chasing away jobs. By cutting red tape, make Ireland a magnet for companies fleeing tariff hit markets. Imagine more US firms setting up here to dodge those levies, creating thousands of jobs in Galway or Limerick. The beauty of this approach, it counters tariffs without fighting fire with fire. Free markets reward efficiency. So lower taxes and regulations means cheaper Irish exports. Our GDP could soar, wages rise, and prices fall for everyday essentials. Studies show over and over again how free market economies that embrace its freedoms grow faster and weather storms better. Ireland's future is bright if we choose liberty over interventionism. Don't fear the tariffs, cut taxes instead. Aaron Gabral